Thank you. Thank you. Well, Tai Chi is just an incredible art. And the great thing is that it's derived from the law of nature. So in a way, nature is where we are. Just being here, we feel the nature. And nature has so much within it. So that is Tai Chi. It can be so simple, anyone can learn, and it can be so many layers of depth, making it so much more interesting to spend a lifetime working and enjoying it. So the principles is what sort of make Tai Chi, and following the principle is like following the law of nature, allow us to understand more of us, ourselves, more of other people, more the world, and really more of how to make ourselves stronger physically, mentally, from inside, and make us to be more able to listen and interact with other people more effectively. So Tai Chi for me is the art of life, and it just enhanced my life. I remember years ago I have a student or participant who told me, oh, this is too much. I don't want something to take over my life. Well, that's quite in contrary. Tai Chi never take over our life. It's here to enhance it. So that's how I feel, and I'm sure most of you agree with me. So then part of then is to work on the principle, and that allow us to dive into depth and understand it better. So we have covered the first two sessions, last 2 months. We covered the first 6 points, and now we are on to the last 4 points. And I'm going to talk about point number 7, that is coordinating the upper and lower body. And point number 8 is coordinating inner and outer movements. In a way, it's sort of a similar 2 points, and that's also seems to be very simple. After all, of course, your whole body should be fully coordinated. So your upper and lower body should work together. And I'm going to take you to do some exercise with me to feel what it's like. But this coordinating upper and lower body just reminds me 1983. Wow, that's a while ago. Master Fu Zhong Wen, who's the key composer of the 24 form. It's really funny. When I learned Tai Chi nearly 50 years ago, 49 years ago, 24 form was like a new thing. People say, the traditional was the Yang's 108 forms. 24 is the new one. But now I heard people see 24 form is the traditional, and whatever else is new. So 24 form is the most practiced set in the world, without a doubt. Most people, vast majority of people, especially people in China, outside China too, who practice Tai Chi, does the 24 forms. It's a great set, and the chief architect, there were 4 composers, they all has gone. Master Fu Zhong Wen was the key composer, and I was really honored that he stayed in my house in 1983 and come to train in my school. And everywhere he goes, everywhere he gives talks and training, the first thing he say is coordinating your upper and lower body. But he never quite showed people what he meant. But he kind of did when I trained with him in my house. So I'm going to share with you that in a minute. I also remember Master Fu. You know how life is so funny. that sometimes you remember the silliest things, not necessarily about Tai Chi. At that time, I happened to drive a four-wheel drive, and that time it happened to be a relatively new car, 83, it's a long time ago. And that was the first time you have central locking. So, if you press one button on the window, or the thing lock, you remember that? All the cars now, this won't happen, the same thing won't happen. I drive Master Fu, his son and his daughter-in-law, three of them, to the airport. So it was domestic. So I was able to drive through the front door almost, front entrance. And then, of course, being a very helpful person, I jumped off the car and helped them with the luggage. And Master Fu, at age 83, he did have a habit. When people reach 83, well, I'm not there yet. I'm pretty close to that now. You get habits, and his habit is he press the button and then go out, and then he slammed the door. So my wallet, everything was inside the car, the key was inside, and the car was locked, and I'm in front of the airport. You can just imagine it was pretty difficult thing. And so I actually, of course they're gone, I actually asked passengers, can you give me $1? So some kind person gave me $1 so I can use the phone. There's no mobile phones, 1983. So I can use the public phone to call. And fortunately, the only person who have another car key is my late father-in-law, who also is my first real Tai Chi teacher, who learned his Tai Chi from the great-grandson of Yang style creator. So Yang Cheng Fu's elder son is Yang Zhong, who was my late father-in-law's teacher. They were co-students. So anyway, he was home. He was about 83 too. So he drive to the airport, rescue me just before they're going to tow my car away. Whew. I can never forget that. Nothing to do with Tai Chi. But I'll never forget Master Fu for that, apart from all the things he taught. So we're going to do upper and lower body. I mean, it sounds so simple and so logical. Of course, your body should be coordinated. So probably that's better shown by doing something. Okay. So let's do Parting White Horse's Mane. For those who read my article in the Tai Chi magazine, the Wayfarer, it's stopped now. Marvin passed away and the magazine died. But back long time ago, I did write an article in the 10 Essential Points. And I did talk about using the Parting White Horse's Mane as an example. So if you like, join me. If you don't have a space, just stay seated wherever you are and visualize what we're doing to get this idea of upper and lower body. So we're going to start just doing a little warm-up first. So I want to get you to just join me and push your chin back. We're going to just do 3 little warm-ups. That's enough for our example. And trying to keep your body upright. Remember the principles, energy to the top, body upright but not tense. And using your mind, not just brutal force. And the second warm-up exercise, let's stretch the spine. Imagine you carrying this large beach ball, and as you stretch, feel your spine stretch. But again, not tense, just using your mind to gently stretch your spine as your hands separate. And remember, you can do it sitting down, visualize you're standing up, or if you do have the space, join me. We don't need much space. I'm going to just stay mostly stationary. Okay, and the last warm-up, we're going to do the knee. So if you just make 2 loose, comfortable feet, make sure your feet are below your hip. And then take the do mirror image. Left foot forward, foot down, and then gently go forward. Foot down, no weight. Now shift your weight. Great, let's do that again. Then weight, keeping body upright, moving softly. Mindful with the weight transference. And coordinating the upper and lower body goes with all Tai Chi moves. But if we just try to think of it with one move, like parting white horse's mane, from here, it's almost like what we did just now, that warm-up exercise. If I go sideways to show you, you will step, foot down, and then parting white horse's mane. Now, the upper and lower body, the force comes from your feet. Then you come up along the lower limb to the dantian, and then you direct the force and express through your hands. And that's how our dantian control our body, and how our stance give us that stability and that strength to exert our energy. So the legs, the way your legs move, touch down, and now we shift your weight, that process, and push your heel back. That process started from here and goes to where that your kneecap not over your toe, not over down, and it gives you stability, strength, but also transfer your force. The hands, the upper body, comes with your dantian moving, your body move, and your hands open up to here. So the force is on that side, is on the side of the upper limb, and it open up to still ended up with slight bend, with your zoning, your shoulder joint, your wrist, your hands down, body upright. So the energy comes from your foot, travel up, controlled by your dantian, and then express through your hands. So this hand is feel the incoming force, or hold somebody's hands or fists and gently redirect the force. This hand is to go under someone's armpit and just gently sort of disengage the person, absorb incoming force and deliver force with this hand. So if your knees here, and then you move your hands, this is extreme uncoordinated movement. If you move here, open up, then all you have is your upper body's force. However, if you shift your weight together with delivering force, then you have the force of your momentum movement. And if you feel your energy going from front, shifting weight and turning in a spiral way, then your energy also Your force also coming from here and deliver a spiral sort of force on the top. And so if you're coordinating the upper and lower limbs when both started at the same time and both ended at the same time, then you are growing that force from the ground, coordinated by Dang Tian, and it delivers at the right place, at the right time. It's a lot more powerful. It is spiral. It is force from the whole body. And it makes your whole body talk to each other and working as a unit. It's like a group of people. When we have a center, when we have people coordinated, we have a stronger group. And if you just move the upper limbs, then you have a force, but only, and you are exercising, but only just the upper limb. However, if you have a center and if deliver it in a coordinated way, then you have much stronger force. And also, even more importantly, by doing this, you're much more balanced. You're less likely to fall. And you learn how to, where your body is, your mind is. And so the next point is sort of very similar. Coordinating the internal and external movement. What does it mean? Does it mean your mind, body together? Does it mean like the other point of using your mind, not brutal force? Well, it's sort of kind of blur the edge a little bit. Essentially, if we just think maybe internal means your visual imagination, visualization. So if you visualize you're moving this way, stroking bird's tail, and your body work with what you're visualizing, then it's coordinating the internal movement and external. But if you're internally thinking of your shopping, and your body, even though it's coordinated, it's not coordinated with your mind, you're not right here, then you don't get the full benefit of being here now, or not the benefit of being mindful. And you know, being mindful has been shown to really improve health in so many aspects. And it makes us enjoy Tai Chi more and get more benefit. So let's just think of how to make the stroking bird's tail using this to use your internal visualization to coordinate with your outer movements, how we integrate both. One way is to understand where the energy is and how we coordinate the upper and lower body. So this is very much like patting white horse's mane. You start at the same time, using a dantian to direct, and you shift your weight and open up your hands, except the force is different. You visualize a different force. This is the wall of the Peng force. And if you don't know what it is, we did talk about the internal forces in 3 forums early on. The Peng force is the first force of the 4 forces. So go back to that and have a look at that. And then the next, we feel like I'm using the dantian to turn a little bit to feel the incoming force. And then you weight back, hands back to redirect the incoming force. And again, that using thinking or coming back with your body, that gives you more absorbing power, but it's still in good control, and your hands coordinating the same way. So when you absorb incoming force, you also need something to redirecting it, and that is stronger when your whole body is coordinated, and stronger if you're mindful, you're like your mind onto the task, and then pressing forward to gain a better position, absorb the incoming force. Again, if you go back like this and then your hands comes back, it's just only your hands. Whereas you come back with your hands reach the desired position, your foot stands in the right position, and likewise as you press forward, push forward, start moving, and that's where you exert the most force. On top of that, you can also, when you get over this, to make you more focused, more mindful, think of occasionally how to use the spiral on those movements. So those are the 2 points that, in a way, integrate and interact with other forces as well. So I hope you think about it when you practice those 2 movements, and then sort of bring it to all your Tai Chis and think about how to coordinate your upper, lower body. That will make Master Fu very happy that you are coordinating your upper and lower body, and then how to do the internal, external movements, mind body together, like a mind body art. So I think we should continue to talk, and then we have questions, or should we have questions now? What do you think, Evan? We should keep going?
Sure. If you'd like to take 1 or 2 questions quickly, you're welcome to, Dr. Lam. I know you always like to hear quick.
Sure. 1 or 2 quick questions. Go ahead.
Great.
Forgive me, I have a question. I wrote it in the chat, but I directed it to, not directly to you because you were talking. I was directing it to Pat. So, when we teach, is it okay for the students or for us also when we practice to visualize, particularly for the parting wild horse's mane, throwing frisbee, or is it better to visualize what the form is actually saying in the name?
I'm a little confused with the question. Are you saying that should we practice visualizing where the energy is, where the force is, or focus on the name, parting wild horse's mane? Is that your question?
No, I am saying that each form has its name, and the name, sometimes it's hard for the people to connect to the form we are practicing. So we connect it to particular action, what reminds people of, like, when we do the parting wild horse mane, I usually say to people, think of flying a frisbee. So is that okay does it split the energy, or the when we are doing certain movements, sometimes it's not exactly the same way as when we are practicing the form. Like when we are doing brush knee, I remember 10 years ago I was told to think of throwing baseball, but I know now that throwing baseball and brushing knee is not the same, because the movement is different. It's very similar, but it's not the same. So my question is, when you are connecting the upper and lower body, and you are saying that we should visualize it to add the mind part of the practice, is it okay to visualize, for example, throwing the frisbee?
A quick way to answer this is that when you learn the movements, try to learn or teach what the movement's about. For example, parting wild horse's mane is feel the incoming force, redirect incoming force, and then deliver force this way. or pattern white horses mane is, as I explained, Peng, Loi, Jiong, the energy. So that is real. The name may or may not work. Any visualization, any idea you have, baseball, whatever, you can use it as long as you believe is exactly, or it help your participant to see the real picture. And if, you know, for example, someone tell me about like doing baseball, brush knee, well, that doesn't mean anything. I don't play baseball. I don't know what it means. So it doesn't work for me. But so essentially, it would be much better if you use what it means. But if the name helps, any way that helps is fine, as long as you understand what it's about.
So, like, forgive me, but I feel when we are, you know, when we teach people, we say Tai Chi doesn't use force. And then, yeah, it's yin martial art. I know it. There are Chen Tai Chi, and where you can, you know, with each Tai Chi form, you could hurt somebody if you are protecting yourself. But the idea, when I have 80 years old or 75-year-old student, I don't say I'm using force. I am gentle. I am doing it for health. So isn't it better to use the word energy instead of force? Sorry for that, but I'm just thinking, like, you know, I don't want to be forceful.
Sure. Now, I think we got to move on to the next topic, but let me do a quick answer. Words can mean different things to different people in different time. In some way, of course, Tai Chi have energy and have force. That's why we talk about the different internal force. As you go to the forum and go back to the internal force, you can see what's the difference of internal force than just what people understand as brutal force. Absorbing, redirecting, understanding. You also need force and strength to absorb incoming force. And you need force to deliver force. It's just a different one. It's a soft but more stronger internal force. So while you can use different words, as long as you understand it and you explain it in a way that you think your participant understand it, that will be fine. But I would not say to my student, Tai Chi had no force. That's not true, to me. So let's move on, and then we come back if you still want to discuss this further. Yes.
So this is Pat, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the 9th principle. There must be absolute continuity of movement. So first, I want to emphasize that we're here to learn Tai Chi primarily to improve health and wellness and to nurture our internal strength. But we know that historically Tai Chi does have some roots and was sourced from some hard style martial arts or more physical style martial arts. We can expect, therefore, that there's going to be some similarities and maybe something that we can learn about absolute continuity of motion from the hard style martial arts. Tai Chi now is most effective as self-defense for chronic conditions. But all of this is going to come together if you bear with me. I want to go to breathing and think about breathing. It's vital. We always seem to come back to breath. Breath in meditation brings us back to reality too. Breath is, some say, the source of life. It's certainly essential and necessary. So let's just sit and take just 2 normal, even, relaxed inhale and exhale breaths, noticing your breathing. Take a couple of breaths now. And now take 2 more breaths and think about this question. Did your breath stop at any point? Take 2 more breaths. If you picture your breath as an expanding sphere and then it contracts and it expands and it contracts, I would say it hasn't stopped. It just changed. It was expanding and then it contracted. It just changed direction, essentially, from an inhale to an exhale. In Kyokushinkai karate, so I do have a Chinese martial arts background too in Kung Fu, but in karate, we were very explicit. And they said that the point, that millisecond of time where your breath changes from out back to in, that split second of time, there was a Japanese term that I've forgotten, but it meant dead. It's the dead spot. That was the spot that the warrior was supposed to strike at the opponent. That was the spot where the opponent was weakest, because that was the spot of vulnerability. That was the spot where things stopped, so to speak. That's the point where something else could be delivered because of the weakness there. So in Tai Chi, we teach that there is no stop. There's absolute continuity. We go right from the end of one movement to the beginning of the next. And sometimes it's hard to say where the end of a movement is for that reason. In my classes, I sometimes say, please don't park. While you're stepping, it's okay to check your midpoint, but don't park for too long. Of course, if anything hurts, pinches, or pulls, if you need to take pressure off a joint, there's a stop. But otherwise, if you think of some of the hand motions, like in brush knee, the hand that is upper, does it stop here or does it just change? Does it simply change direction? The other one takes over and changes. Sometimes there's a little rotation in a movement, like repulse monkey, where it will just rotate and change direction. The end of one movement becomes the beginning of the next. And that all works together with the other principles because we need to extend a little bit in order to do that. There has to be a little bit of joint extension, loosening up the tendons so that we can change the direction in which we're moving. This, by the way, is Newton's first law. An object in motion stays in motion unless there's a force that makes it change. So by redirecting the force instead of stopping it, by redirecting what we're doing instead of trying to oppose an incoming force, we keep our own momentum going. The momentum is feeding the next movement, if you think about that. Where one movement is aiming becomes the start of the next movement where it's going to begin. The curves, the swirls, we've been talking a lot about spirals. All of that feeds into absolute continuity of motion. We have to put a little turn or a little curve at the end in order to get it to connect to the next movement. So again, if you're able to stand up and join me, please feel free. I want us to take a look at style stepping because that was of a problem for me. When I first started studying Sun style, I thought we were stopping in the half step. But if you think about it, if you take a half step Sun style and that. Now, I just did stop to talk to you, but if you think about it, the stop wasn't when the ball of my foot hit. As I step forward, the ball of my foot hits, I press a little bit. And there's a sensation of the earth pressing back almost and letting me make the next movement. Press and continue, and press and continue. And there's always a hand motion going because we're coordinating upper and lower bodies. The end continues and becomes the beginning of the next piece. So if you do a half step with a block down, punch, feel the motion is continuing. It's simply changed direction. And if you explore that in other styles of Tai Chi, if you explore that, it's very, I think, very obvious in Yang style because the circles are so nice and large and we can feel and see them more. But feel it inside in your Sun style too. And I think you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of the absolute continuity of motion. Avoid that dead space. Thank you.
I believe my English is not as good as Dr. Lam and Pat, so I put some words here. I believe for all of you, your English is better than mine, so that you can read and later on we do some movement and then you feel it. And after that, and you can write down some questions and ask me later. Okay. Now I copied the full paragraph about the point 10 so that I want you, all of us, just to have a look what the original book from Yang Cheng Fu describe the number 10. Before I give my own explanation, I think this way you will understand more. But when I read this original, not original Chinese paragraph, but someone translated into English. And we know when translation, there's directly translation and meaning translation, they're all different. So always there's something we cannot exactly translate it 100% good. So I put some question mark there, which I really want you to think about it. When the original, maybe not original, maybe translator, they say the differences from Tai Chi and the martial arts. But
So, I don't think we see the slide you made. Do you mean to move your slide to the?
Right now it's the 10. The title is 10, number 10. You see that?
I think we're still seeing the first slide. Yin Yang philosophy of body-mind balance.
Now?
No change. Still the same.
Just click enter on your keyboard.
Perhaps we go back to the, yeah, that's good. Just go back to that.
Okay. Can you see this
yes.
number 10?
Yes.
Okay, okay,
yes.
okay. I say everybody, you can Google it. You don't have to write down. Or I put here the whole paragraph because I want you to have a main idea, the big picture. So I put some question mark because from my experience, either something the translation can hardly exactly translate well. And also it's the level. When someone put words on the book, that is the moment only, the moment their level is. So this first question mark I put there means even martial artists in the old time, if their level already reached really, really high level, and martial art and the Tai Chi, they will work together. They will understand easily for each other. But in the beginning, yes. But in another side, even beginners doing Tai Chi, we still sometimes our breath is not that calm and peaceful. I think everyone can recall when we start learn a form. That's my experience. I want to explain a little bit here. So that means we don't want to limit it by the words. It's just like the question after Dr. Lam talk that points. We, in the beginning, using some words and imagine the words describe the picture is good, but that's only certain level. Gradually, the shifu in the old time or right now, teachers should be able to tell a student, now you don't need to think about the picture. Now you need to pay attention to higher level, more go inside. So that means we want to apply the principle to the movement and mind together, not only to the movement. So that if we want to keep quiet, peaceful when we do Tai Chi, what we want to do is we want to learn movement slowly. Anytime when we in a hurry, we can hardly keep peaceful. So when we learn the movement, we are not limited ourselves or tell ourselves in 2 days or in 1 week, I have to finish all this form. Anytime we think that way, we can hardly keep the quietness, the stillness quietly, peacefully do our movement. And also, since this is the last one, the 10th point, and what I want to say is when we do a movement, it should be applied 10 essentials to every movement, not just one upon a point to a specific movement. And also, if we want to go to higher level of the stillness when we do Tai Chi, and also that practice not only based on learned form, that also we need to add something based on embodied life wisdom, so that we are not in a hurry, and we know Tai Chi is no final destination. If we are in a hurry, want to reach the final destination, then we can hardly keep peaceful when we do a movement. So in another level, we want understanding the natural rule, which for the meaning of Tai Chi equals yin and yang. This is the paragraph also. We don't have to learn this long paragraph, but the first, second sentence from Lao Tzu's Dao De Jing, which is a Taoism classic book. And the main idea, means when we learn something, we can hardly learn something by words. And we can hardly explain exactly the whole thing at a time. We need to learn in changing philosophy. That means we don't keep one thing and using this one good thing forever in our different levels of study Tai Chi. And also the words. once people created the words and described the Tai Chi movement, then they borrowed from normal life. There need a teacher when teach a movement to explain what is the real deep meaning of those words for this movement. So that if we want really handle, when we do Tai Chi, we want also practice our Qi, and we want to first combining the 10 principles into each movement. We don't want to separate it. And then seeking stillness in movement is not the only one destination, but it is just a tool to help us to achieve bigger goal in life. So that learn Tai Chi is the first level compared to the life wisdom. If we limited ourselves, we think, oh, learn Tai Chi, once I can handle 100 forms, then I'm a very good master. That's not the case. Since we have limited time, so instead of do Tai Chi commencement, I changed my mind. Let's practice the breath knee, because both young Tai Chi form and Sun Tai Chi form and other Tai Chi form, if some friends learn the Sun style, did not learn Yang style, so we can using the breath knee to feel the stillness in movement. And the better to feel this point, this principle, it is by watching and also by feel our body without talking. So now let's forget all the words and try using our body to understanding this sophisticated philosophy.
Thank you, Hong. That's really nice.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Let me just change my view so we got everybody here. We're running a bit our time, but it's really wonderful for us to have Ted and Hong with such a rich and wonderful idea to share. Good thing is that this is going to be in records, and you can go back and look at it again and think about it again, and most importantly, to do it and feel it, just like what Hong did before he left, finished. So now, what do you think we should do, Ernie and Evan? Should we have a good picture before and then, yeah?
Sure, Dr. Lam, that's a great idea.
And meanwhile, everyone check the message in chat. It's telling about registering very soon to get in on the super early bird rate for next June's USA conference and workshops. Is going to be at Lake Junaluska, North Carolina. So all that information is in the chat box. Hope to see you register soon.
Thank you, Ernie. I'm really excited about going to a resort that is just perfect for Tai Chi and right in the middle of USA. So yes, please do check the checkbox and go to the website for more detail.
Okay, Dr. Lam, we'll follow you for our photos.
So we do a movement, playing the root.
Okay, here's the first page. 1, 2, 3. And hang on. Great. And then I'll do page 2. Thanks, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Great.
Okay. So let's, Pat, do you want to say something? Please go ahead.
I think it
Unmute
was
yourself.
she automatically raised her hand when she did the motion. She doesn't need to speak.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
that was when I did play the lute. I'm sorry. Let me lower
Okay,
it.
that's cool. Well, so we're going to extend another, let's say another 10 minutes, because it's such a rich and interesting meeting. Meanwhile, if you have to go, absolutely understand, remember you will be in the recording and I will record it until I formally finish. So let's have another 10 minutes. Were there any questions that for us?
Lenora has a question.
Yes,
Go ahead.
this whole forum was extremely interesting, but at the same time, overwhelming. I mean, I consider myself a newbie. I've only been doing this for 8 years, and all of you have so many years of experience. So my question is, I appreciate the principles and understanding them. Would it be wise to use a smaller movement, like even something simple, whether it's the Sun or the Yang, waving hands in clouds? Because I'm thinking as I was listening to you, that can be, you can sort of do it with the waving hands and clouds, and you don't have to worry about, stepping out to the side, depending on, how your body is. So I was just wondering, is it acceptable to learn all of this with smaller movements, is my question.
Okay, Lenore, that is a great question, and I got a long answer for that. First of all, remember Hong mentioned in her slideshow. Actually, you were saying it's overwhelming. Well, I must admit to you, when I look at Hong's presentation, I'm trying to catch up with what she's saying, what is in the text, and it was overwhelming. I didn't quite understand it. So that is fair. But the good thing is, we do have a recording and can go back and look at it. So I think it's really important for us to see that it's totally true that every single movement, every simple movement, small or big, contain all the principles. Nonetheless, it's also really important to know nobody can apply all the principle at once at any time. In fact, so if you think your goal is going to get all the 10 principles right, forget it. It's not possible. You set yourself for failure. The key is to pick out one thing. I'm going to be mindful and be quiet from within, maybe for 3 seconds. I think that probably will make Hong very happy, will make me very happy that you can have 3 seconds of quietness in your movements rather than thinking of, oh, did I got all the principle right? So that is the dilemma of Tai Chi. What we're trying to do is share with you our experience and what we feel the best to come through. But, you know, it's like life. You only need to really pick a bit of it and carefully taste it, and it will be delicious. You're trying to have everything, you'll be overwhelmed, and I don't think that would be my idea of Tai Chi. So I hope that I can see a smile. I probably answered it the right way. Anybody, Pat or Hong, do you want to say anything else to that? Pat, go ahead.
Pat first. Pat first.
Mine's short. I was just going to say, and I put it in the chat, I find the warm-ups, because they're short, succinct movements, are also a good place to start thinking about a movement. You know, like the end doesn't just stop, it changes direction. You know, you could take any of the warm-up exercises and look at a principle there too.
Thank you, Pat. And I created the warm-up. It took me a year with help from everybody. So it is, for me, it's Tai Chi. So what's Pat say? Yes, yeah.
I think Hong was going.
Hong? Do you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, in the tradition we learn Tai Chi, they using both. Like modern time, we using more website, big group of class, and read the book. We using the modern educational teaching learning way to learn the ancient art. So that if anytime we feel a little bit frustrated or too much information, one thing, because we have a big class, big group right now, so that what we are doing, 3 of us, we want to pay attention to a certain level's Tai Chi friends. So every of you, if you can understand which level, feel free just to pick one thing. That one thing maybe help your all form, all movement. That's comparatively, we using the modern learning way to learn the ancient art. Also, sometimes feel free to think about or Google or ask your teacher, what is another way maybe I can borrow when I have so many questions? And the tradition way is they using both. Means they look at the words for each movement, but they go to their teacher, ask. And the teacher look at the student and like a doctor find out what's wrong or what is the condition, what is good for this moment, and what is your best way to handle or study or understanding. Then the good teacher always pay attention, put their heart on you and your form, your movement. Then they, by the words, combine the words and what their experience, what they embodied to guide a disciple. Nowadays, mostly we're using the participants and instructors way to study, or a little better, we study in a smaller class with a teacher for a longer time. And even better is even smaller group, or sometimes at least sometimes find an opportunity have a private class with a teacher you like.
Thank you, Hong. And I think it's
Thank
so
you.
nice you mentioned about the old ways and the new ways. If we think of life 200 years ago, a person experienced whole lifetime probably less than what we experience in 1 month. So if you think of the
Yes.
old days Tai Chi way, most Tai Chi masters are illiterate. In other words, they can't read or write. And the Chinese village have this saying that if you spend 3 years learning the set, then you just take a first step to Tai Chi. And if you spend 10 years working on Tai Chi, then if you're good enough, you could teach. Some of us would think, wow, it'd be nice to go back to old days that I experienced a whole month of my life in a whole life. So simple, and I don't have to think so much and worry so much and not be overwhelmed. I see it as a blessing for us. We're so lucky to have videos, to have friends, to talk to friends across the world. I would definitely don't want to go back to experience just one short time. And I'm so blessed that I got the chance to meet so many of you and learn so much and share so much. But then what is the balance? Because overwhelming is bad. Too much stimulation makes us crazy. So the way I see it is, and the way I think Tai Chi solution is being mindful, being quiet with your movements. Here at the moment, I'm very mindful of being here with some of my best friends, sharing ideas. I'm enjoying it. I'm just here and take this beat and really enjoy this beat at that time. And you know what? There's so many things happen outside the world that I really worry about. The world is going to end soon. I'm not going to worry about that now. So Tai Chi help us to be focused, to be quiet within. At times when we're doing it, that's okay. When you think of something else, that's fine. That's normal. That's our human being normal. So getting overwhelmed is part of our makeup. And getting disturbed when you do Tai Chi and thoughts come to you is normal. You're not crazy, it's quite normal. What you need to do is train yourself to just think of one principle every now and then, coordinating upper and lower body. And for that few seconds, you are in it, you're with it, you are quiet in the mind, and you are really living and enjoying it. And I think if we can allow ourselves to be, whenever you are aware of it, be mindful on one thing at a time, then we really taste life. And then we can enjoy the opportunity of all these stimulants, all these friends, all this energy from everybody, and not overwhelmed because I'm just here at that moment. You can't do it all the time. Every now and then is all you need to do. That's how I deal with life. Go ahead, Nora.
Just one more question. So I'm absorbing everything that you're saying, which is fantastic, and I appreciate it and I thank you. So I'm sort of thinking on this route. There's the 10 points, but of course we know the 3 principles that you start with your whole program: controlling your movements, the external, and then the internal. So my thought is going towards those 3 we put into each point. So we put in controlling, like if we pick, doing our upper and body, we have to use all three of those principles to achieve that. I mean, we can't do it all at one time. So is that the correct route to be thinking? Take those three principles and slowly bring them into the 10 points? Or am I overthinking this?
Leonora, that's really nice. Of course, I know everything and I'm absolutely right and never be wrong. Of course not. Nobody knows absolutely everything. And I think any way to look at it, when you're comfortable with it, is great. And I think it's also very important to have your mind open to assess yourself and say, I don't feel comfortable that this new way, let me think about it. And then, whatever eventually come out, that would be better as you open your mind and think. So really, there isn't absolutely correct or wrong way. It's how we look at it and how we feel it, how we taste life. Yeah. If I can use this way, I learned the 10 essential points, and I tell you the truth, it's really hard to remember all 10 of them and trying to just recite it, and certainly you can't do it all the time. So what I did is I incorporate all my learning from the ancient texts and my training over the years, and I work with people, and I simplified it to 3 categories. I find that easier to remember, easier to execute, but it's still the same principle. But I also translate to more modern language and collaborate with medical studies, so it's easier and make more sense. So my 3 category, first is external movements. Body upright is external, moving slowly, smoothly, and you'll find they correlate to 10 points. So external movements, slow, smooth, continuous. And then the body structure, that's really important. Body upright, weight transference. So I can remember that external body structure and then internal, song your joints and jing your mind. Jing your mind is like seek quietness within your movement. And internal, integrating internal, external is like jing your mind too. So I find that easier to remember. I can remember that, I can talk about it, and I can relate that to the 10 essential points. And I think it's really nice to look at life in different ways and look at the classical text and think of what people do in the old days. And maybe you can do a bit of that. One day I'm going to go back a few years and think of the old days. One day I'm back here in life. Um, so if you're not sure what I talk about, the 3 category of principles, it is everywhere in my videos and online, in YouTube. I talk about that all the time. And each time I talk about it, like the 10 essential points, each time we explored it, I felt I understand it a little better and I can put more into it. That make Tai Chi so fun. Different ways to look at it, and the principles are sort of the same, but different depth, different approach, different way. And I think we have to conclude here. I'm going to officially conclude this forum, and it's so good to so many of you and so much interest from you. I'll stay for another 5 minutes. You're welcome to stay another 5 minutes. But meanwhile, you can now officially go without feeling that you're deserting us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Lam, Yvonne had a nice comment in the chat. Yvonne, would you like to tell about that? That was a nice thought.
Yes, I try to say in English. I have a lot of people who cannot integrate lower body and upper body. So I use sometimes the picture of a flower, and the flower have their roots in the feet, in in their roots in the earth. And so the energy comes through the feet into the body, into the dantian, and then it goes out to the fingers, and on the fingers here, opens the flowers, so that they can imagine the flow of the energy. So it comes from the feet, from the earth, the roots, so through the body, change the, as you said, in the dantian, and then direction through the body to the fingers, open the flowers. So they understand how the flow in the body is flowing. The energy in the body is flowing. So when the other woman told about the baseball, I thought, oh, my picture is the flower. I tell people and they can understand. I hope so. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I love the flower much more. I think anyone can understand. It's beautiful. It's really nice. Sure, I like that. Yeah, Colin, you want to
Marag
say
also,
something?
yeah, Marag had a comment, and then Colin would be next.
Yeah, I thank you, Ernie. I just in listening to those ideas, I began to think, what do I tell my students to balance this idea between gentleness and force? And what I tend to do is tell them that at the end of the movement, where you deliver the force, the strong part of the movement, I just sometimes say, I tell them to direct that at any challenge that they have in life, rather than thinking of being forceful against a person or necessarily fighting someone, which I think was perhaps, sorry, I forget, was it Katrina? Katrina had mentioned being gentle and not being forceful. But I think force or energy can be directed at all sorts of things. And I think it can speak to individual students who all have their own challenges and worries and things to be up against, if you like, in life. So I use that, if that's of any help.
I like that too. The Tai Chi's way of interaction was listening to incoming force, redirect the force, and then using the opposite force to express yourself and express your force well. So like you were saying, that is an internal energy to overcome your challenges. But first of all, listen first, find out what's the challenges. And so inner strength, I like that. And then I think important thing is that you understand that movement and you can see your participant understand what you're saying. And that's most important, the communicating what it means rather than the name. Yeah. And right, Colin, go ahead.
I would just chip in. One of the things I often refer to, and I can refer to it because many of the people in my classes are older people, is the idea of understanding how a Swiss watch works. So some people here from Switzerland, yeah, Swiss watches are renowned throughout the world for their accuracy and their precision. And behind that is the fact that they are incredibly well engineered. So everything fits together really well. And this idea of how a watch works or a clock, where you're talking about energy, but in this case, kinetic energy from the spring of the watch, that drives all the individual components to work precisely and synchronously together. So, you know, this saying, one part moves, all parts move. And if you can get some sense that the inside of your body in a very relaxed way is moving a little bit like the precision engineering of a Swiss watch, that can help people get this idea that everything is joined up. And if one part moves, all parts move together like the inside of a clock.
Wow, I never think of a Swiss watch in Tai Chi. I certainly like the one part move, the rest move, because it's a whole body thing. But yeah, that's thought stimulating.
Can I speak?
Veronica has a hand up.
Yes, Dr. Lam. Listening to all those things of all the Swiss watch and everything else, I've found the best thing that I can do with my people, and most of them, they range from 55 to 90. And if I explain the things the way Dr. Lam talks about the force coming from inside, using the Dantian, they've got the Dantian breathing, and it's amazing to see how people who are 90 can get up and they can, you can see the inner force coming from inside, and a lot of them are really getting really good at it. Because I'm over 80 myself, and I don't think of a number, I think of the person and where they're at. And as Dr. Lam knows, the last 12 months, I've had most of that 12 months off my feet. But I'm back again, I'm on my feet. I've got a wheelie walker, but that stays in the cupboard unless I absolutely have to have it. So most of my people are all, particularly now, since the last things that we've been going over at these meetings, they're all starting to get to the point where you can see the force coming. When they do a brush knee, it's no longer a floppy hand. The force is coming through, and they're all starting to understand it. And I think if you're talking to people of a certain age, they appreciate the fact that you don't put them there at you're 90, so you can't do this. Do what you can do. If you can't do it, sit down. And I have some ladies who come and they love Tai Chi for energy. They love Tai Chi for energy. But if they're having a bad day, they sit and they do the hand movements. But that's just my little bit of what I sort of feel. Okay.
Thank you, Veronica. You know, yourself is an example of how your mind, you heal your body, the things you went through, and how you get out and sharing and helping others. That's amicable. It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, well said. And I can see your participants just have to look at you, and they will get better. They'll follow you as energy. They'll get better.
I hope so.
I'm
Lorraine,
sure
your hand up, Lorraine. Lorraine Norton. No comment. Yes. No. Okay.
Hey, Jolie, is it really cold there? Are you guys really cold?
No, I've got dogs and the patio's open so they can go in and out. So the door's open. That's why I've got my jumper on. But it's not that
okay. It is our summer, but it's still a little bit cold here. I don't remember a summertime being so cold. But yeah, yeah, I miss going to UK. I love lots of things over there. I enjoy. I'll try to do that next year. But I have arranged Yvonne to go to Zurich, right? I'm going to Zurich next year. It depends on how things going. I would love to go past London as well. Yeah, I love going to Zurich. It's been a while.
Yes.
Thanks for organizing
Great.
that.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great.
Yeah, you know, the things like I mean London, UK is like something so English is so much part of that culture that I learned. And I remember the most moving movement, because I think a lot, you might not agree with me, but I think a lot of Charles Dickens. And the first book I learned using English was the simplified version of David Copperfield. And I think he's changed the society from what I can see with his words, with his stories. And when I was in Westminster Abbey, and I was just standing there, and they told me underneath that's Charles Dickens. I felt like so moved. It you know, it's a great country. It's a bit like when I go to Beijing, that thinking of the histories of China and what happened there. So yes, in Australia, we have a beautiful country, but we don't have that rich history and not so many inspiring figures. Yeah, I will get there.
Lorraine, excuse me, Dr. Lam. Lorraine had a.
Hi. Yes, I have my hand raised now. Thanks, Ernie. Dr. Lam, I'm interested in the article you talk about that you wrote many, many years ago. The magazine discontinued. What's the name of the magazine? Or is there any chance you would put the article on the website?
Absolutely. It's called the Tai Chi Magazine, and it's run by Marvin. He must be passionate about Tai Chi, and that was the only magazine. Now there's the Chi magazine, which I just written lots of articles for them. That's the only one now. Okay, back to the question. It's about, I've written a few things for him for both magazines, the Tai Chi magazine. The other thing I write about the story of Yang Shaozhong. That's a great grandson of the creator of Yang style. All those articles, I do have the original copy. If you email me, I will send it to you. Anybody else, if you're interested to read that, it was written many years ago. Just email me. I'll send it to you.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Lam.
Sure. Yeah, it's a weird feeling. You look at yourself, your pictures, your videos, and your articles, and you think, did I write that? And what's that mean? Oh yes, I did. It's me. And most of the time, I sort of when I publish something, I think about it, I dream about it, I talk to people, and so most of the time I kind of felt good, but there are times I felt not as good. But I did my best to get the message out.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes. Happy to share. And I'm sure there's no problem with copyright anymore. Yeah. Actually, they were my copyright because I write it anyway. So yes. Well,
Evan, did you want to take a picture?
Oh, yes. Thanks, Ernie. Dr. Lam, would you like to lead us for a photo?
Sure. Yeah. So we do the picture. If we can, after that, if we got a few minutes, I might briefly go through the next 2 points. You're going to get a recording of Pat's and Hong's take of those 2 points, but I might just talk a little bit about that, then kind of complete our meeting too. So yeah, can we do like playing the lute, Yang style?
Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the next point the point number 9 is there must be absolute continuation of movements. So you know how Tai Chi it flows, and you can simply say, when you continue to move, you continue to accumulate energy. And it's like water in the river, it flows and it gathers more hydraulic energy. If you stop, then you stop the energy, you have to go again. So that would be a more simple way to describe it. Another way is to think of when you breathe in and store energy, when you breathe out and deliver energy and move on to the energy, it creates not just a current, but also a wave of energy that it moves up and then it reaches a plateau and coming down, but not going down. And then the next wave come out. So if you continue to flow, your energy continue to go upwards. If you stop, then it sort of reach plateau, and then you got to start over again. Like a car engine, it's moving, the momentum drives it, and you continue to go. If you stop and go, you use a lot more petrol and you get less momentum. And it's so part of that Tai Chi, the smoothness, the flowing is very much characteristic of us and very much part of nature. And the next is stillness in movements. In a way, you can just think of mind and body, coordinating in mind and body. When you are mindful, and when you're here now, and when you're mindful and moving around, even when you're moving, there's a quietness within you. There's that Jing, that stillness within you. And that, for me, is one way to look at stillness in your movement. It's like a Buddhist saying that in quietness, in nothingness, comes wisdom. So emptiness allows you to bring things up. When you move, feel the stillness, keep the quietness within. However, Cheng principle, I think it's really important to understand that the principles have different layers of depth, and you cannot always think of 10 principles. You cannot apply all the principles. I think all you need to do is every now and then you think of it and implement it. And gradually, you were on a journey of building more internal energy, more mental strength, more mental balance, and some of it would become part of you, like moving slowly, smoothly. Then you strengthen your inner ligaments and strengthen your body. So I found myself that the 10 essential points, I certainly studied the classical texts and different principle of Tai Chi. I'm really interested in what makes things work, theories, methods behind it. And I do find it's not that easy to remember 10 essential points. And that's why I incorporate my medical understanding and translate to language that's easier to understand. And I design the 3 categories of principles. From outside, controlling your movement. So your movement is slow, help you to be mindful. And your movement is smooth, allow your mind to be more quietness when it's smooth, and continuous energy continue to flow. So that is, if you think of how you move, controlling your movement, that included several principles we talked about already. And then I'm working into the body, the posture, being upright, And again, I explain the advantage of that and the balance, mindful of balance. Study has shown when you're physically well balanced, it also helps you to mentally balance and vice versa. And there's opportunity in most of my videos and my work that I explain it more detailed. But again, it's like you think controlling a movement, then your body structure. For me, that's easy to remember. It's more natural. And then the internal is by zoning your body, allow your joint to open up from within. Then your chi flows better. And when your body's upright, your chi flows better. So song also means the right posture. And the jing is the mindfulness, the mental quietness. So for me, that's easier to remember and more like to do with the body. And it's quite easy to do. Just that 49 years, I'm still working on those principles, and I still find they give me deeper layers. And I talk about it all the time. I do it all the time. And I, in my younger days, well, I'm still a bit impatient. I used to hate repetition. I don't hate it so much now. I still don't do much repetition, but with Tai Chi, the principles are what I practice and think about and explore all these years. I still do that when I practice. So there's something in it, and I encourage you to look at it and think of the 10 principles and trying to look at my 3 categories and see how you can merge together. It's the same language, just a little different presentation and little more easier to understand. Okay, that's all I have to say. What do you think, Ernie? We think so let me just conclude this officially. So thank you for being here and look forward to talk to you next time. And you're welcome to stay for another few minutes if you like to, but otherwise, yeah, if you go, then that's fine. You think, yeah. And I will send you the recordings. Yes.
Dr. Lam,
Thank you,
it's Lorraine
everyone.
here.
Lorraine, yes, you had a comment?
Yes, Ernie, I have a comment. This last little bit that Dr. Lam added to our talk is actually the most interesting. It's sort of more a summation of all that we've been learning in the last couple of webinars. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lorraine. Yes, I think, that's always place to look at things differently and repeating it, because these principles are so profound, and I don't get sick of talking about it. So thank you for that. They make me feel really good.
I always felt that you have always been able to get very complex concepts into simpler language that we could work with. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I think that's my father's gift. My father was a great teacher. I always hope to be a teacher. And I think when I practice medicine, I have a lot of practice. It's really important for me that my patient know what's wrong with them, how they're going to do things, and understand what's the problem. And I always like to find out ways so I can explain to my patients so they can understand what's going on and what they can do about it. I guess I enjoy that. I enjoy making things more, easy to understand, more practical. So again, thank you. Thank you. That is
Okay, good night, everyone. Talk to
good
you
night,
all
everyone.
later. Bye, thank you. Bye, Veronica.
Bye, Lorraine.
You're the
In
champion.
January.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Lam.
Bye, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you. It's great to talk.
And Evan and Ernie,
I miss
and lovely to see you, Rosalie. Thank you, everyone. Very worthwhile.
Thank you,
It's
Beverly.
great to see.
Yes, good to talk
Yes.
to you. Good to see
Coming.
you.
I just would like
Yeah.
to quickly share something. So we have just put our house on the market, and with that comes, you know, sorting through things. So I've spent the whole afternoon sorting through my Tai Chi notes. And most of them are from, you know, Dr. Lam's wisdom. There's a bit of Young Style, which I did before, but the bulk of it was Dr. Lam. And I'm reading through it, and I had to smile so often because exactly what you have just been saying, Dr. Lam, we practice and practice and practice, and then it becomes just part of it, and it becomes natural. And that's exactly what I felt. I thought when I read my notes, I thought, that is so basic. I mean, of course, we're doing that already. But when I started learning from you, it wasn't basic. It was something that I needed to write down in order to then practice it. So yeah, great wisdom. Thank you. And that's how it happened to me. And I'm so grateful.
Well, thank you, Helga. And I remember you told me about you making notes. That reminds me, I used to take group of people to China every year to Beijing with the really great teachers that I learned from. And we get out at 5 o'clock and we, practice work all the time. And I write down notes like you did. And then I came back home and I practiced and practiced. And interestingly, I remember everything. I keep practicing and I do remember because I care. And months later, when I look at the notes, oh yes, I remember it all. I didn't need to write those notes, but it was good though. Writing those notes was an exercise that helped me to remember as well. I appreciate what you did too. Yeah.
I am not that good. I found multiple repetitions of the same notes. So, obviously I heard it again and I didn't know that I had written it down before. So, but eventually it sinks in, hopefully.
It does. You have great Tai Chi. Yeah.
Evan.
Yes.
I started my first sips this week. So I'm working my way through the first one. So far, so good. I haven't had to call on you, but I'm, I think so far, and it's really interesting. Actually, I'm finding doing that, I'm getting so much out of it, actually. It's just, what would I say? It's all the stuff we've learned and everything, but it's just putting it there right in front of your face so that you can actually say, yes, oh yes, I can do that. And yes, I know I'm really thrilled with it, Dr. Lam. It's really good. Anyway, on that happy note, I'll go and see you next time. Bye.
Likewise, good to see you. Wonderful. Thanks for coming. I look forward to see you guys soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. And see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you. It was really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lam.
Thank you. Yep.
Dr. Lam, may I ask a Tai Chi question that has actually just occurred to me?
Sure.
So in Young Style, I used to do pushing hands, and I know that's not something you promote, but you know about. So in pushing hands, there is this this action of yielding, and I'm just thinking, is yielding and redirecting really the same thing, or very similar, very related?
They are together. You means right, and redirecting means to direct. So, 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 absorbing. And then
Yes.
at the same time, you do redirect if you need to. But if the force is coming this way, then you don't need to redirect it. But usually the force is towards you. Like someone
Right.
complain, they always complain about you, and then you need to learn how to redirect it. So you
Right.
then often come together with redirecting, and that is Loi. Loi means you then redirecting. It's a
Right.
word that's created just for Tai Chi. In Chinese language, there isn't such a word called Loi, but there is now. It's purely a Tai Chi jargon.
Ah, okay, I hadn't heard that word. So if your incoming force comes directly at you, you would yield, but then you would redirect also, wouldn't you? Because you have to get out of the way.
Yeah. Otherwise, you come to you.
Yeah,
And also
exactly.
redirecting means he lost his balance. So yeah, so you then redirecting usually come together.
Right,
and it's
right,
called like
right. Ah,
Heng Loi Ji Am, the four force.
thank you, thank you. Another one of
Sure.
those little bits of understanding. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.